Well, welcome back. This is lesson number 4. Today we're going to focus on more position play in English. Okay? One of the things, I know we have a few new students here. I wanted you to keep in mind that the last 3 lessons are all posted on YouTube now, so you can go watch those anytime you want if you missed any of the earlier lessons. Also, the handouts over here as well. One thing I really want to focus on today is a few of the things that we did in the last class. I want to make sure that we have those down because I feel like they're so important. The one that really is important and I think is a fundamental that changed my game about 10 years ago when I learned it. I talked to an instructor in Illinois, Don Feeney. You might even have heard his name. He's a world-renowned instructor. And he taught me for the first time where the pockets are located. And it depends on the angle of the shot. Now, we've already learned the L drill. I demonstrated this last week. But it's an excellent drill for knowing where the pockets are. Now, you just set 3 balls using these diamonds crossed like that in an L shape. The first shot, you put the cue ball right on the spot, play a stop shot, just dead center, and make a nice stroke, and stop it dead like that, and stroke through. The next 2 shots, you take ball in hand and use the spot as well, and we're going to shoot for 13 and then the 14. But real quickly, I just want to designate exactly where the center of the pockets are for each of these shots. Now, if I shoot the 14 to this part of the pocket, there's a chance it's going to hit that knuckle and hang up. So whenever you're cutting a ball down the rail like this, the center of the pocket is over on this side. Now, it's the exact opposite when I shoot 13. Center of the pocket is not here. It's well over on this side of the pocket because you don't want to make sure not to hit that knuckle. So when I do all my alignment, target line, aim point, and everything, I'm actually playing to slightly overcut it. Swing down, take your warm-up strokes, and let it go. Stay down. Same thing on this shot. We'll make sure that it goes in the, remember the professional side is over here, the amateur side is here. And also keep in mind that when you're facing the pocket like this shot, the center of the pocket is right in the middle. So that's the difference. Okay? All right, another thing we covered last time, and this is the basis for all position play. The first thing you think of, and we'll take a situation in 8-ball right here. Let's say that the 12 and the 1 there, the 2 is out here, cue ball is right here. And you have solids in this position. When you're playing position on your next ball, the first thing you always do is you draw a line from the center of the pocket to the ball you're playing and find where the tangent line is. And you can all see if I follow the tangent line, my cue ball is going to run into the 12 and probably knock the 1 down towards the corner pocket, which would give me shape on the 2 and then make the 1 and then the 8 to win a game of 8-ball. So let's check our tangent line. Don't need a lot of speed, just roll in the 3. The cue ball should run right into the 12. Okay, we're in pretty good shape. Now to win the game, I simply have to make the 2, then the 1, then the 8. Okay, I got a good angle on the 1 so I can bring the cue ball out to the center of the table. Center of the table is always your friend. So anywhere out there, I'm good to play position on the 8. Stay down until you hear the ball hit the back of the pocket. Anyway, the tangent line is crucial to becoming a good player. Whenever you're in a position at 8-ball or 9-ball, that's what you look at first. And we all know that you can change that tangent line as well, so that's a big part of it too. All right, the next thing I'd like to cover is we'll talk a little bit about English. Okay, the key thing about English, we've covered that in the previous class, is that it is a last resort, okay? The reason why I say that is that when you use left or right English on the cue ball, you have to compensate, okay? And by compensation, I simply mean that if I use left English on the cue ball and I hit it with a firm stroke, I'll aim for that chalk in the middle on the rail there. But if I hit left English with a firm stroke, you'll notice where it hits. I'm about one full Q-tip to the left. Notice how it deflected a little bit to the right. That's because a cue ball is round, and when you hit it firmly, it deflects slightly to the right. But watch what happens when I hit it slow. I'll aim directly at the chalk, nice center ball to the left, about one Q-tip, and I'll stroke through perfectly into the chalk. So if you take a nice, soft, smooth stroke, you can pretty much aim where you need to. But if you hit it shot firmly with English, you have to compensate for the deflection. And that's something that you can work on in a drill that I'm going to cover a little later in the class. Okay, let's look at a situation in 8-ball. I'll put the 8-ball out here. And in this case, you have solids. And you just made the 6 in the corner pocket, and unfortunately, you got exactly straight in on 1. All right, what do you do from here? What's your choices? This is a shot that comes up all the time. You get too straight on the ball. Well, this is a situation where I would use English. The reason being because if I hit a stop shot, this is a long shot. That's a lot of green, isn't it? So a way that I can simplify this is I'll use a draw stroke here. But what type of English will make the ball spin towards the 8?
Right.
Anybody else?
No right? No?
No.
Okay.
Actually, low left.
Right.
Let's think about it. It'll
Oh,
be
yeah,
turning
yeah.
this way and coming back, so it hits the rail to fly out like
Yeah,
that.
there.
Now, when you shoot this shot, you've got to chalk your cue, because I'm hitting low and left on the cue ball. Okay? Do all my warm preparation, target line, aim point, swing down. I'm aiming about one full Q-tip and low below center. And you can see the left English made the cue ball spin, so I have a relatively simple shot. So that's a case where you want to use English. Okay. All right, the next thing I'd like to show you is shots where English is necessary. Okay? Let's take a shot like this. You've got a game of 8-ball, and the 8-ball is somewhere down here, and you're shooting the 5. Okay. Let's say you have a slight bit of angle like this. One of the possibilities here, I can use draw, but if I hit the rail up here and come down here, I might scratch. Okay? So instead of using draw, I'm just going to hit a center ball with a little bit of right English, which will make the cue ball hit the tangent line here, come down to the second diamond, and roll right towards the 8. Because you don't want to ever take a chance of scratching. So I'll just hit a center ball with one Q-tip of right English. And you notice I hit right at the second dime, and I'm coming into the line of the shot. You never want to cross the line when you're playing position. Okay? Really important. Okay. The next thing I want to show you is the center table is important. All the good players I've ever talked to, they always say, well, when you're in doubt, always go for the center of the table. And I wondered what they were talking about. Well, there was a method to their madness. Let's just take a typical shot that comes up all the time. But I'm going to use one of those target pool things, so I have a target to shoot at. I think I used this last year, right? And I'll put it in the exact center of the table. And you notice it has numbers. A bullseye is 5, 3, 2, 1 as you go out. So let's take just a basic cut shot. Like I'll play the 2 in the corner here with a slight angle. And this is something you can practice. Obviously you don't have one of these, but you can put a handkerchief in the middle of the table, which works good. So what I'm going to try to do on this basic cut shot is have the cue ball land right in the yellow. So I'll just use a little bit of right English, moderate speed. Not bad. Things slowed it down a little bit. And anyway, the reason why is that so important to play center of the table? Because you know you can't scratch. If you hit the rails, there's no way in the front you can scratch. If you go through the center of the table. The only way you can scratch going through the center of the table is if you're shooting from one pocket to the other like that. So it's really a phenomenal thing to learn. 8-ball, that's especially important because in 8-ball you have several choices. So you want to keep your cue ball in play so you have a lot of options to consider. Any questions so far? That's what I want today's lesson to be. I'm covering some basic stuff in the beginning, but I want you to ask as many questions, and you can pick my brain as long as you want. Okay. All right. The next important thing is playing position into the line. We already covered this a little bit, but let me give you two more examples. A lot of times you have the ball like this in the corner pocket, cue ball located about so. And you think to yourself, well, what's the proper way to get position for the 8-ball from here? I'm going to quickly show you probably the way that I would consider wrong and then the way that I consider correct. What would you say? How would you do this? What would be your take on this? If I wanted to get position on the 8-ball, let's put the cue ball a little more there. Anybody? Okay, here's how most people would shoot it. They would just maybe hit a center ball, a tip above center, and try to hit the rail and slide down right behind the 8. Okay, I didn't do too bad. I could have done better, but why was that not the best choice? Yeah. Yeah, and it did what? Cross the line. And I took a risk of scratching. The much better way to play that shot, and the way that you can't really go wrong, is simply to use a little bit of English. In this case, we're going to use high right English. I'm going to go 1 rail, 2 rails, 3 rails, and then into the line of the 8-ball. That way I take no risk of scratching. Right into that second diamond into the line of the next shot. Okay, let me give you another example of that. This comes up a lot as well. A lot of times you might have the 8-ball in a similar location, and you have your last ball in this position. Same principle comes to play. A lot of people think to themselves, wow, all I got to do is draw back behind the 8. Well, let's take a look at how that works. I'll hit a nice draw stroke, and I'll try to get position on the 8. I didn't do too bad, but I overran it. What rule did I break there? Crossing the line again. What's the better way to shoot that shot? The way you can't mess up. There's a way that you can do it where it's automatic. All you got to do on this shot is literally just hit a center ball stun shot. Cue ball come to here, and into the 8. towards the 8. That's the way you always want to play position. You notice on that shot, the cue ball could have stopped here, or I could have gone all the way to here. That's how much room for error I had. But when the cue ball was crossing the line, like this, I only had this much space. Okay. All right. Now for some specialty shots. Let's say that you're playing an 8 ball, and I do want to cover kicking today because I think that's an important part of the game. I know people at Country Roads sometimes enjoy hooking people more than making shots. So you've got to be an expert at kicking, don't you? Now, a pool table is exactly half as wide as it is long. And you're wondering why I put the chalks down there. But I want to kind of demonstrate your target when you have these kind of kick shots. Let's say that you have solids in a game of 8 ball, and your opponent just hooked you like this, so you can't make your 1 directly. Pardon me?
Must have been Ralph.
Oh, okay. All right. Sounds good to me. So, because the table is half as wide as it is long, if I hit the center diamond with a rolling ball, the cue ball should go right into the 1. It's a basic triangle, and it's a system using the diamond. So we'll see what happens. I'll shoot at the center dot on the chalk. And lo and behold, I made the 1. Okay? But I didn't get position. That's too bad, but we won't worry about that. Okay? All right. The next shot, your opponent leaves you this. Guess what? What are you going to do now? Well, there's a system. There's a system to be able to figure this out. If I shoot the cue ball at this chalk, this diamond, with 1 Q-tip of left English, it'll take the cue ball right into the 1. Let's see how that works. I'll hit 1 full Q-tip of left English. Made the 1. Even got shaped that time, too. But what happens if you're stuck with this now? That's blocked. Guess what? If I go at that diamond with a full Q-tip of right English, it'll take me right up to the 1. Let me get it away from the rail a little bit. 1 full Q-tip of right English. Almost missed that one.
Now, would that have worked going right between the 2 balls with a half a tip of left English?
You would adjust your English accordingly.
Okay.
Like you could even go further by using more English. But that I just want you to get the basic shot down so you can modify it depending on where the ball is. Now we're really in trouble. Now that you're stuck in a position like this, where Stripes has got you hooked in every direction. Any suggestions here? What do I do now?
3 rails.
3 rails, exactly. And I'm not going to go into the 3-rail system, but basically I was practicing earlier, and I know with running English, if I go a little bit right of the second diamond, that should take me right into the 1. So let's see what happens. Pretty good. Okay, that's some basic kicking stuff. And if you want to ask about the 3 rails, I'll do that individually later, or maybe after I finish, this part of the lesson, we can talk about that a little more. But there's even another situation that might arise. This one I think you saw me shooting earlier. What do I do from here? I can still win the game. How do I win the game from here?
I didn't see it, but I know what to do.
All right, go ahead and tell him, Terry.
I don't have a point.
Yeah, you play it right off the knuckle here, and hopefully the cue ball will slide right back and make the 1 ball. gotta chalk your cue on these because this is hitting the very top of the cue ball. So, and again, you just about split the knuckle is about right. And you gotta take almost like a jab stroke so you don't double hit the cue ball. And I've actually shot that shot in real games, and it actually comes up a lot. So it's something to practice. I know Efren Reyes and a lot of those good players, they you see them play those kind of shots in competition. Yeah.
And you were center top on that?
You can only hit the top of the ball, but you absolutely have to be center because if you're hitting the very top of the ball and you're off to one side, you're going to miscue or throw the cue ball off. So you got to hit the center.
And you would hit it hard also? Or just moderate?
You could hit it moderate or hard,
Okay.
but that will change the way the ball goes. You have to practice that and get a feel for it. Okay. All right, let's do kick shots now. All right, let's say we've got a situation like this. Got the 8 ball there, and we'll put the 1 over here, 8 over here by the side pocket. Let's see if we can win the game from this position. Now, this isn't a very hard kick shot, but the reason why I'm starting off simple is I want to make sure you have to understand how the system works. Again, just like the banking system, it's called the midpoint system. So the first step in this shot is simply lay your cue to the opposite pocket on the other side. Right over the top of the ball you want to make. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is leave the tip over in that pocket that corresponds to where the 1 ball is, and swing it to the midpoint between the 1 and the cue ball. That's step 2. Step 3 is to hit the cue ball on an exact parallel line. So you lift up your cue and go like this. So that's exactly where I need, about 2 inches to the left of that diamond. And just moderate speed. Oof. Let's try it again. I went a little right of the spot. Paralleling. There we go. And I do have a shot on the 8 ball this time. But let's put it in different places and use the same system. Let's put the 1 ball a little further up the rail. Nothing changes. It's exactly the same. I lay the cue across to the corresponding point on the other side of the table, swing it to the midpoint between the cue ball and the 1 ball, hit it on a parallel line. This time, I'm a little closer to the dot. Okay. Does that make sense? It's kind of like that banking system that I taught you, but again, the first step is always to find the midpoint. And let's say the 1 ball is a little higher like this. Lay the cue right over the top of the 1 to the opposite side of the table, swing it to the midpoint. Now hit it on a parallel line. So this one is pretty much right at the dot. Okay. And the main thing about kicking is that you don't give up ball in hand. That's a huge in all games, 9 ball, 8 ball, and so forth. All right. Any questions? All right. One last kick shot, and then we'll open it up to take my brain here. A lot of times you get stuck in places like this. Let's say that you have stripes. And you're in a position like this. Okay, I could go 1 rail and hit the 10, or I could use a lot of English and go into the rail and hit it that way. But you know what? There's a better way to hit this ball. And let me explain how the system works. This one also works on a midpoint. Now, if I want to hit the 10, all I have to do is to find the midpoint between the cue ball and the 10 ball, which is right there. Then I hold my cue directly to the center of the closest pocket. Now, in order to hit the 10 now, all I have to do is hit the cue ball on a parallel line with running English. So I lift up my cue, go over to here, like that. So if I contact the rail at that point with a one cue tip of right English, it should take me right into the 10. And I made it. No.
Well, I need
Alright. Let's move it out a little bit and make it more complicated. Let's say I'm way out here now. Same thing exactly. I find the midpoint between the cue ball and the 10 ball, which is right here. Hit the cue ball on a parallel line. So I'm going right into the rail right there with running English, right English, which speeds the cue ball up. And you can always make contact. It's a very accurate system. And what you're actually doing is you're doing geometry, you're bisecting angles. So with the one rail and the two rail both, you use a midpoint system. Yeah.
Pete, how do you know whether you're doing English or whether you're doing right or left to hit that?
Good question. Running English is a term that pool players use, but a lot of people don't know what they're talking about, okay? Running English is the type of English that makes the cue ball speed up. Now, in this case, to make the cue ball speed up, it would be English towards the ball that I'm trying to hit. So if I'm trying to hit the 10, it would be English right. If I move it the other way, like this, put the cue ball on this side, running English would be which side? Left English. Okay. So it would change, depending on which side of the table you're shooting on. But this is exactly the same system. Find the midpoint. There's my parallel line. One full cue tip of left English. And you can always make contact, and you won't have to give up ball in hand. Now the drill that I've got in your handout is called drill around the clock. And you might have some fun with this. It's kind of an advanced drill. But literally on your handout, you'll notice I have the diamonds numbered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And I have these two little dots on the table. And to learn the cue ball, this is how you do it. You simply set up a shot that you can keep setting up over and over, and you just go from one dot to the next, trying to contact all the different diamonds around the table. Now, let's just start real simple. If I wanted to start with number 12, anybody have a suggestion on what type of English I would need to hit this dot?
Right in.
You sure?
You're coming this way or that way?
I'm going to go into the rail and try to contact this dot over here. Left English, right. So in this particular case, I think I would use a little bit of low and a little bit of left to try to come into this dot. Okay, and that's one. Now, on the next dot, I'd have to go around the clock. The cue ball is like a clock, isn't it? That one I hit about, let's see, around 8 o'clock, or almost 7:30, when you think of a clock system. This one to hit up here, I'm going to be more at 9:30 or so if I want to contact this dot. About like that, about just one cue tip of English. That one I missed by a little bit. I probably needed a little more English. But this is the way you learn. This is the way you learn. Let me use a little more English and see if I can get a little closer to that dot. And that one was about perfect.
Now, are you shooting like about one tip down at 8:30 or tip and a half? Or?
On these kind of shots, I try to stay within one tip of English. The reason being is you get more than one tip of English, then the ball is swerving a little bit, and also you're getting more deflection. So you're much safer to keep your Q-tip no more than one tip of English. Otherwise, you get into trouble. I mean, professional players can do that because they play every day and they know it. But when you're learning, one tip is kind of the limit. But anyway, if you want to try that later, that would be an interesting drill to play with. Yeah.
Peter, how far below center of the cue ball are you hitting on those?
I would say that last one I was almost middle. The first one I was about, I would say, a half a tip below. But it's going to vary. And everybody has a different stroke, too. So it'll vary from person to person depending on the way they stroke. Some people stroke more downward. Some people are more level. All those are factors to determine where the cue ball goes.
And then as you work your way around the table to hit the different numbers, 11, 10,
Yeah.
9 down, you go to 6 and 5 and right straight up around to hit.
Exactly. Yeah, and I know that might be a little bit tedious, but this is the only way to learn the cue ball, to learn, how you need to contact the cue ball to make it go where you want. And besides hitting the cue ball where you aim, then position play is the second most critical factor of being a good player. You simply have to be able to control the cue ball, to where you want it to go. Any other things? This is pick your brain time, by the way.
That shot you just made there a minute ago, when you were bringing, the 8 ball was between you and your object ball.
Yeah.
Okay.
The two-railer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ralph does this to me all the time.
Well, Ralph, does Ralph know this system, Ralph?
No, but
I taught it last year.
But he forgot.
a really good memory. Say, okay, your 8 ball is where the 11 would be.
Yeah.
Okay, you make your shot, you contact your object ball, but you're leaving the 8 ball open. You're leaving the guy dead on.
Well, the alternative is you don't make a good hit and he gets ball in hand though, in a game of, of PCA rules. But I see where you're coming from. If I was in a real game of 8 ball and I had this position, what I would try to do is try to hit the 10 ball to leave it as difficult as possible. Because your chances of making the 10 on a two-rail kick in the side pocket are very, very slim. So maybe what I would try to do in this case, if I was in a real game, is I would try to go one rail, hit the 10, so maybe it hits the 8 more over here and the cue ball ends down there. That's how I would think of this shot. That would be the best way to maybe hope that I get safe on this shot.
Cover yourself.
Yeah, right. And again, when you talk about strategy of 8 ball, that's an important part of the game, is playing defensive, when you don't have a shot.
Now, on these here, when you do that, the plot,
Clock, yeah.
on this particular shot, you did it at 12 o'clock if you wanted to come back to that second diamond, right?
No, those are just random numbers.
Oh, that
Random
doesn't-
numbers.
that
Let's
doesn't
see.
tell you where to hit
But
it
that's
on
a
the
good
clock.
question. Let's see where 12 o'clock brings us. Because you do a little experimentation in this. 12 o'clock would be a full Q-tip above center, high ball. So I'm just guessing that that'll take me around this or this diamond down here, which is what? 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 it should take me to. But that's a good question because that's how you learn the cue ball. Let's see where it goes. I'm going to hit at 12 o'clock, which means the cue ball is going to be rolling forward. And went pretty much through 4, didn't it? Okay. So you got one figured out all right. Now you just got 11 more to do. Yeah.
On the around the clock drill,
Yeah.
why does number 1 start with the second top?
Because
Why aren't you using?
because of our limitations on a cut shot, it's not possible to go to this dot. In other words, you can't put that much English on the ball. That's the only reason I did that.
Okay.
Now, I could try, let's see how close we can get. In other words, to get to this, it's just not possible, because look where the tangent line is. The tangent line is like this. So there's really no human or physical way possible to get the cue ball there. Unless I, go multiple rails around the table or something. Okay. The other thing I put on the handout too was the spot shot. The one thing I want to say about this that might help you, do you guys ever shoot spot shots in your rules here? Maybe not, huh?
No, they never spotted anything. I mean, we spotted 1 in 15, but we're
Yeah.
shooting for the side pocket.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
the best way to make a spot shot is to use a half ball hit. So whenever I have a spot shot, I use the knuckle on the far corner pocket as my guide. So I'll lay the cue ball right on that line. Now the reason why I do that is that when I set the ball on that line, shooting this spot shot is an exact half ball hit, which is the easiest shot in pool. Which means my cue is going to be aiming for the edge of the 10 ball through the center of the cue ball. So let's see how we can do. Okay. Now, that's important because I can see exactly where to hit on the half ball hit. In other words, my target is right at the edge of the 10 ball, and that's an exact half ball hit. See, half of the cue ball is hitting the 10 ball. So it's kind of a way to make a spot shot easier. In the old days, you shot a lot of spot shots, and you had to be good at those. So I like to practice those even still.
So is the reason that you bring it off from the left knuckle there is so that it won't scratch down there, or does that enter into it?
Well, if the ball is rolling forward, it won't scratch. But you know what? I could scratch if I hit a little bit of draw on the shot. Instead of the cue ball taking the forward roll and hitting down here, if I hit a little draw on the shot or a stun, it would probably scratch in this corner pocket. So you can still scratch, but the cue ball is rolling forward, so it changes the tangent line.
The reason he's putting it on that line is because that is anywhere on there is the line to aim.
Yeah, and it's the easiest way to make the shot. But you're right, I could scratch if I hit a stun or a draw shot of any type.
Now, when you lay the pool stick there, you're laying it where you want to hit the 10 ball to make it go over here, right?
Exactly. I'm laying it so the cue ball will contact the 10 exactly on a half ball hit.
Okay.
And I don't know where I learned this, but it's covered in some textbooks as well in pool, because I think people just figured that out, that God, if you can make a half ball hit, it makes the shot a lot easier. Okay. All right, good questions. Any questions about banks from last time? I know that's always a challenge. One thing I want to say about banking is that, I don't care how good your system is, it's still an art. Because there's so many variables in a bank shot. I mean, it's just incredible. And I've noticed that certain people have a natural ability to make banks. In other words, they've developed a feel for them. And I know that goes against what Mark Wilson said, but I've seen people that don't have any system at all. They just know where to hit it. Almost like it's an intuition.
It's natural.
Yeah. Okay. Now I think it might be